All right, everyone, how you doing? Let's go over some custom setups that I have that I'm running whenever I launch Stable Diffusion. You've got the default web user, what is it, the web UI dash user.bat file. It comes included with your Stable Diffusion automatic web UI setup. And this is great. It allows you to go ahead and put in some certain little, functions. You can add some command line arguments. You can add some get pulls, get stash, all these other things in there. But it doesn't really give you flexibility to easily change that every time you want to start Stable Diffusion up. So sometimes you want to have like a totally clean startup, or sometimes you want to have the share URL turned on, or sometimes you want to run all your get pulls for all of your extensions separately, rather than going through the UI and running the update there through the extension tab that's built in. Sometimes you've got extensions that aren't included in the approved web UI extension list, and you have those installed, and you need to do a git pull with that with some sort of custom script or a batch file or something like that. So I have a solution that I use that works really well for me. I've been running it for a couple weeks now. It's kind of evolved and grown a little bit, so it's definitely useful. So I'm going to go ahead and show it to you. This is just a standard. This is my Dream Booth specific web UI that I have set up. It doesn't have really any extensions installed, I believe, except for the Dream Booth one. Yeah, just the Dream Booth one is installed. So we're going to go ahead and kill this. Show you what my startup looks like. Now I'm working on two monitors, so I'll be pulling stuff over. So that's why if you see those coming over, that's what's going on. I've got a little shortcut bar in my, a shortcut on my Windows desktop over here. I'm going to start this up. So this is what you see. Let me go ahead and move this out of the way. So we've got some choices. I've got run the updates. It's fully loaded, meaning all the extensions are loaded. Everything's turned on. We've also then got an option to have it loaded with the shared option. We've got a don't run any updates with no sharing, no updates. You can see what I've done here. What's really cool about this is that you can then trigger some of the things to launch and run at the same time. This is really, really useful. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. So I have, the standard web UI batch file that you get with automatic comes with, just a very short list of things. I've extended it, and it looks like this. It looks like this. So at the very top, you'll recognize the regular web UI batch file environment variables here, right? Then I added my own choice features, and I've got them tagged to numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on the keyboard. And when you click each of these, they go down and they'll run different versions of the command line arguments. You can see I'm loading a custom VAE model here. And it goes all the way down to 5 options. The fifth one, which I have set, is start bare bones with no transformers or Xformers. It just goes straight down to this one right here. It just starts it up with the dark theme and then loops down to the end, which then starts in VI top and then launches Vivaldi. Watch my other video about Vivaldi and how to free its sort memory up so it doesn't, hook onto your GPU. You can do that with Chrome and other browsers too. And then, of course, call the webui.bat, which is what starts everything. Now, I have some other batch files that I use as well. You can see when I do my fully loaded startup, which occurs when I press number 1, I also call a special batch file that I wrote that runs all these setups. This way, I can have all of my git pulls happen ahead of time before I go in, and I just get everything, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. And I can choose to have that run or not run. Now, this mysetups.bat file also exists in the root directory of the web UI where you would normally launch all your batch files from, the normal startup script. That looks like this. Things get a little out of control here, but you can see what I'm doing. I'm doing a git pull on this extension, the training picker. We've got it on the aesthetics gradient. So I've got all these extensions installed. They may not be activated, however. That's the key. They may not be activated, but I still want to go ahead and just get the updates for them. I've also got another script here called StylePile. I went ahead and turned that off because it seemed to be slowing things down. There's some very large images that are built into that extension, and I'm just going to turn it off for now. Also, Magic Prompt, turn that off for now too. But you can see then we've got some other custom things that I'm running here, where I'm using PowerShell to do a raw get pull of the raw file for like the depth map extension, things like that, animation script, etc. So these are just little extra add-ons that I want to run in conjunction with my normal startup.bat file that I've made here. And when you run this, you can see that they're running right here, my setups. And when you run this, this is what you get. You get this cool little UI. So I'm going to go ahead and run the full updates, run everything so you can see what that looks like. The only thing I'm going to add, though, is that this is going to take quite a while to start up. It just does when it's cold, when it's the first startup. It doesn't seem to have really cached anything. It's going to take a little time, so I will be speeding this up. I'll press 1, and we'll just watch what happens. Oh, we got an update on the Dream Booth extension. For updates. We're going to trigger NVI top, which went up over here on the other monitor. This just lets me watch what's happening. And then, of course, I automatically launch the Vivaldi browser to the local host. This is going to continuously check and try to reload as the startup script is running. You can see it's installing requirements for the web UI down there at the bottom of this window. This might be down a little difficult to see. Let me pull that up. And so once this is all done loading, this will come in and it'll just be refreshed and loaded. So we're just going to let this load a second here. Good. Okay, you can see that we're loaded. Everything's up and running. Let me go ahead and refresh the UI here. Everything's good. We're all loaded up. I've got my autocomplete. I've got my, everything's good. My extensions, you can see everything's installed. What I don't have active, of course. So this is good. Everything's running. Let me go ahead and close this back down. We're going to run this again. But only we're going to run it with the, what's it called? The painthua.com active, and that's going to be number 4. So we launched a few things at the same time. You'll see I popped open 2 browsers this time. Sorry, 2 tabs. The InPainting app and then also the local web UI. So you need both of these in order for the InPainting tool to work. But this is essentially doing the same thing. It's going to go ahead and run through its startup. But it's not processing any of the updates. You'll notice that we don't have any of those git pulls just happening back to back. So in effect, when this is done loading, everything will be up and running. It'll work just great. So I think that there's a lot of room to be able to manage the way that you start up your stable diffusion instance whenever you need to use it, and having a batch file that sort of offloads these choices for you really makes it, I think, pretty nice. You can, of course, always, even by default, select a certain checkpoint that you want to have loaded. So if you just want to dive right into a particular model, you can. A lot of options there. So I hope this is helpful. And I think that great things are coming for stable diffusion. We just got to get some new updates installed and have things run the way we'd really like them to run. Have a great day. Bye-bye.